Hi, and welcome again to CCU Spotlight. I'm your host, Michael DiGiorgio, and I'm here with senior BFA Theater Arts major, JP McLaurin. And we're going to talk a little bit today about a little play you directed called Three Sisters. So first of all, for people who don't know anything about you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Coastal, and ultimately what led you to theater arts and directing.
I came to Coastal because I was looking for a change. I transferred. I ended up not really liking the situation I was in before. I went up to New York for the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, and I trained with a company called City Company. And there I met two artists, Lee Hendricks and Neil Utterback, two people who graduated from this program here at Coastal. Okay. And I told them, I was like, I'm not really happy, I'm not really fitting in where I'm at right now, and I want to pursue more rigorous training. And the two of them said, hey, you should go to Coastal. And within the next semester, I was here. Started here thinking that I wanted to be an actor for the rest of my life, but the nice thing about the studio classes is that you're constantly doing this every single day, so you really start to question, is this something I want to do with the rest of my life? Is this something that I want to subject myself to day in and day out? And I started directing more. I started doing more composition-based work in my classes, in Acting 3, where we do like alternatives to realism. And I started leaning more towards classical work, just because that was something that really stimulated my senses and something that could help me understand who we are today.
Great. What led you to choose Three Sisters to direct?
Yeah. Well, I was looking, so I directed Marisol by Jose Rivera my junior year. Okay. And that play, it's set in the late 1990s. It's all about the end of the world. There's lots of magic realism in it, surrealism. It's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And I knew that I wanted to do a classic play after that. Something that was a little bit, I thought in my head, I was like, oh, I'll just do a classic play. This will be so much easier. And in reality, it was 12 times harder. And I had always had a curiosity for Chekhov. I mean, he's kind of been the constant in my education throughout college. Okay. My freshman year at my last school, my freshman seminar was all about A Window into Russia. And it was during the time of the Russian Olympics, and so I was doing a lot of research, not just about Chekhov, but about Russian culture, about how the country itself formed, and then going into the into the revolution and the Soviet Union, the establishment of the Soviet Union. And then I continued that education just on my own. I was so curious about his work, and not just his plays, but his short stories. Sure. There's really good books about his letters. And for me, I don't see the boring melancholy of it all. I think that's kind of something that might be Americanized, or there was a lot of research I did in different translations, and there was a translator named Constance Garnett. And she mistranslated a lot of the work early on. Okay. So she made it sound more Victorian and more stodgy. Right. When in reality, I mean, Three Sisters is about soldiers and doctors and everyday civilians. I mean, these are, it's focused on the working class. Right. And for me, that's kind of, it's exciting, because I don't want to start reading plays that don't reflect the universal truths about all of us. We all work, we all experience the effects of time, we all miss things and yearn for something else. And I think that's what this play illuminates. Right. So that was, for me, that was kind of the impetus to present this work, especially right now, in the world of bias and brutality. I said, well, how can I keep my ear on what's happening around the country, but also listen to, well, what is this play saying, and how can it either offer solace to fresh wounds, or how can it illuminate things that we haven't considered about ourselves? And I think that's something that Chekhov does so well.
Right. Talk about, sort of from the beginning, how did you pick the cast for this play? Did you have traditional auditions? Yeah. Did you have people sort of in mind already when you started to read this and thought, okay, because you obviously work with these people all the time. How was that? What was that process like, and how fun was it to find the cast for this sort of project?
Well, I think we always have ideas in our mind of who we want to work with, and of course those plans always
Sure.
never pan out the way
Sure.
we intend for them to. But I think at the end of the day, I landed with a cast that was one reflective of the campus community, which was extremely important to me. I didn't want to just cast a completely homogenous body of humans. I wanted people to be of different ages, of different races. I wanted to actually feel like a community. The only person that I had in mind was Tom Penn, and he is a adjunct professor here of theater. He's also the artistic director of Atlantic Stage, which is all about changing the theatrical context of the Grand Strand. And I asked him back in June if he would do the show, and it was not until like late August or early September that he said, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And so he was the only set person, and then everyone else, it just kind of went around the natural process of casting. I think it was one of the most interesting experiences I've had in the casting process, just because I had my department chair working with me and trying to figure out how can we not only one, cast the right person, but how can we serve the students? I mean, this play is fulfilling a need within our season. We didn't have any plays by female playwrights, and we didn't have any plays by classic playwrights. So the fact that we had Anton Chekhov and a major American female playwright like Sarah Rule, both breathing into this narrative and fulfilling this need for our community was incredible.
Fantastic. What were some of the challenges that you faced, getting it to a point where you were happy with it?
I think, well, the big challenge was our truncated schedule. We had this lovely thing called Hurricane Matthew that occurred, and it shortened our rehearsal process from 6 weeks to 4 weeks. Our first rehearsal, I told our company, I stood up on the first day and I said, okay, so a month from now we will be in our preview. And that was daunting. That was extremely daunting. And I started thinking more and more about the exquisite pressure of all of it. I mean, the fact that we didn't have time to think too much about it, the time that we actually spent on our feet working was, at the end of the day, so rewarding. And I think for me, I would have sat there and thought about every single alternative, or oh my gosh, this image, how do I fix this? How do I tell the relationship better? Which at the end of the day, it just became the impulse of how can I tell this story in the clearest way possible. And at the end of the day, this play doesn't really follow a narrative kind of, it doesn't have a narrative that drives the play. It's really about relationships. It's about the gaps in between people. And so relationship is all we have. So at the end of the day, I think it was great that I didn't have time to just sit around and think about it.
There's probably a lot of moments, but what are some of your favorite moments from this play personally? Be it performances or whatever it is. What are some of your favorite takeaways from this play?
I think there was a willingness from the entire company to leap headfirst into the text, and it seemed I was so lucky. I think that I can't really pinpoint a moment, but I was so lucky to spend time working with not just my best friends, but incredible artists, extremely competent, extremely curious about telling the truth. There was some of the most beautiful moments I've ever experienced in a rehearsal room working on this process. And it wasn't just from seniors. It was from Tom. It was from our freshman company members. People who would not typically land in a piece by Chekhov. That was it was just so rewarding. And I think it really kind of solidified for me like what our job is as theater makers. We're here to tell the truth. We're not here to be liked. We're not here to draw attention to ourselves. We're here to tell the truth. And if we're not doing that, then we're not serving the play and we're not serving our audience. So for me, that's what this process kind of did. There were always like extremely fun days. I had the company come in one of the first rehearsals after we had table work, and I asked them to create 3 behavioral gestures. I mean, it could just be like scratching your neck or fixing your clothes or whatever, and 2 expressive gestures. all of which that kind of helped to create an ideograph of the character. How do we tell the essence of a character through gesture? And some of the work that came out of that, ended up in the show and really kind of gave us a blueprint for who are these characters physically and how do they relate to one another. How do we tell relationship through just a look, or how do we tell it through the way in which we treat the space or treat each other? And that it was just, I wish I videotaped that, because it was some of the most beautiful work I've ever seen.
Right. So you're a senior now, and hopefully this isn't all for you. But so what's on your horizon? What would you like to direct next? What would you like to do? What are some of your future prospects? What's JP's future look like?
Hopefully he's still working. Yeah, I hope so.
In the field that you want to be in?
Yeah, that, or I'll just move to Peru and run away and hide in the mountains.
That sounds
I don't know.
pretty fun.
Part of me wants to do that, and the other
fun.
part of me wants to just get out right now and
study abroad in New York.
Study abroad in New York. I keep saying study abroad because I think I'm just so envious that I didn't get to study abroad in college. I really just want to keep questioning why theater and why now, because I, like so many people, I would want to just sit on my couch and I would want to watch Hulu and Netflix and Amazon Prime. They're really great, beautiful movies, beautiful television shows that are coming out right now.
Sure.
You know, as a filmmaker.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with
but
you.
I have to keep asking, well, why am I asking an audience to come to the theater? So I want to land in positions that really force me to consider those questions and put me on the line of defense and just start asking and promoting this mode of storytelling. And who knows, maybe theater doesn't look like this in 20 years.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't even happen in a theater at all. Perhaps it's more immersive. Perhaps I don't know if we're going to be able to distance ourselves more from it. I think that's something that television and film can do. It's, like, this is the event and here is the audience. But how can we engage audiences? How can we offer empathy and solace and question what it is to be a human in 2017, what it is to be American? That's something I'm curious about.
How would you say Coastal sort of pulled out the artist within you? How would you say that Coastal sort of, would you say you've sort of found yourself here, found what you wanted? Because you talked a little bit about not knowing where you were, what direction you were in. How did sort of Coastal foster that development in you?
I think if anything, Coastal, I don't know if it's like finding yourself, but I think it's kind of like a homecoming. It's kind of, there are so many things that happen in our lives that inhibit us from living our truest form. And I think Coastal's done a really incredible job with me in stripping away and saying, what do you really want? Or it's helped me diagnose why it was that I got into this field. It's helped me solidify my purpose a little bit more. I feel more like myself here, which is, I think, just a complete gift.
Right.
And whether that's from the conservatory-based classes that we offer here, whether it's working in and around learning labs and with collaborators from extremely different disciplines, I'm not sure. I think it's like an amalgamation of all of that. I think it's really stretched my capabilities. I'm kind of like always walking around with peripheral vision.
Right.
And I'm so curious about working with people that don't do what I do.
Right.
And people that I think that are in different fields than I'm in, but that are trying to answer the same questions.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, JP, so much for coming onto our show and doing this interview for us. It's been pretty enlightening, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and maybe good luck in Peru, or good luck in
hope so.
New York, or wherever you end up. Good luck, and we hope to see more of your work. I know I do. So thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next time on another episode of CCU Spotlight.